We'll start over.
Starting now. Good morning, Jim. How's
Good
it going? Do
morning.
you have your
Oh,
coffee?
I do. I have my coffee right here, but I
Okay.
won't tell you about this one.
They already heard about the mug, so
Yeah, they
I
did. They got
also
my side
did.
of it.
Yeah.
During that time while I was telling that story, Cafe was just going, "Oh, what a waste of time. Oh,
Is
what is
that?
this guy doing?
I thought
He,
I had muted my mic on purpose, Jim.
yeah. Ugh.
That was just between you and I.
Our private time just happens to be public.
That's yeah. We literally live stream it to the world, or 15 people, depending.
Yeah. Oh,
I
interesting.
had a dream where I had emergency surgery, which was weird. I also had a boyfriend, which was even more weird. So anyway, yeah, Jim and I are going to be chatting at some point. We may glance over, but he and I are just going to be talking.
Yeah.
Not ignoring you guys, but not paying any attention to you at all.
Yes. I will be paying attention to you guys, but I will not be reading what you're saying in chat.
Jim will not be paying attention to me at all. I'll be
I
just
will.
talking
Yeah.
to myself while Jim interacts with chat.
Yeah. In fact, I'm just gonna take these off. I don't. I don't even know
This
what we're
is,
doing.
what we're actually going for is the Guinness Book of World Record for strange podcasts, the strangest. Yeah,
Strangest podcast ever.
people who don't actually talk to each other. Jim, you and I can only talk to each other through chats,
Okay.
reactions
Tell
to
Cafe
you.
that I said that if
Yeah.
he's that when what he said was not okay.
So we're trying to generate 10 minutes worth of content, so we'll be live streaming for 24 hours to try to get to
Yes.
try and get clip that
Yes.
together.
We're gonna take just the most random edits. Just every time that we sip, the sound of the sipping of the coffee is what we're editing out, and the
That's right.
podcast is just gonna be.
Just this.
So, so yeah, all of this, of course, would be the special. This is the special behind the scenes stuff. The only people who get to hear this stuff are the people who are in chat right now, or the people who sign up for the $1,000 per month behind the scenes
Oh, did you lower
podcast.
the price a little bit?
I did. I lowered it a little bit. It seemed prohibitive. It was
You,
at
you
5K, and people were like, I don't know.
Nobody has
I don't
signed
know
up
if I can. Yeah, just the richest people in the world. But they were like, I don't know if I have time for a podcast to listen to a podcast. That's how rich people talk.
at all
I don't
times.
know. At all
Which
times.
that's why I talk like this, not that, because
Yeah.
my bank account said you
Just
can't
be
talk like
careful
that.
about how much money you make because your voice will pitch and
Hey, if you could
switch.
watch that for me, Jim, I'd appreciate it. And just
I
like,
will.
hey,
Well, that's how I know how your financial situation is going.
yeah,
Is I'm just like,
he's
you
flush with
sound
cash right
poor.
now.
You sound really. You sound like maybe you had to replace your lawnmower again. That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like you found a brand new case for all of your tools, and you could.
Yeah. He doesn't have any money. He had money there last week. I
He
could
had
tell.
money. Oh, but he's pitched back down again. Uh, okay, well this is a podcast that is the crossover between Fortnite and life, and the way that we described it on the podcast website was always think the Bus Driver podcast, an ongoing series about life and learning from the lens of a Fortnite player. And so this particular episode is the first time you and I have tried this in a while. I took a break from Fortnite, and then you came to my rescue and said, "Jim, why aren't you playing Fortnite?" and got me back into the game. And
I
now we're
did.
back
I
in the
had
podcast.
I had a SWAT team actually approach his house quietly
It was
at
really
night.
scary. My mother-in-law was really freaked out. She was like, "That
Yeah,
seems excessive.
she's in
Why
the
didn't he
hospital
just
right now.
call you?" Yeah, she was like trying to do my mother-in-law in. Um, so the format of this that we'll give a go here is we're each going to bring something that has kind of been an aha moment for us in the
Oh,
last couple of weeks.
oh, that's what we're doing. Okay, all right.
I'm telling you right now,
You're
you are
like
learning this
you're giving me the
while
game
the chat.
instructions.
Yes, the game instructions are so. W is forward, and S is why didn't you inform me of this earlier, Jim?
Mhm.
So, so you wanna decide who goes first? Do we want to let chat decide?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock paper scissors. All right.
Best of three.
So I'm gonna do paper. All right.
Okay.
Ready? All
Ready?
right.
Rock,
One, two,
rock,
three.
paper, scissors. Oh, you go
Yeah.
first.
I go first. All
Okay.
right. So I took a break for a while from Fortnite, and I did that because I was really letting it eat away at too much of my time, and it was a little bit um, too much of my focus was on getting on and seeing who was on and seeing who could play, and I was getting really really caught up in that.
Hmm.
And there isn't really, I think, a problem with me playing Fortnite, but I had gotten myself to a place where that was uh, consuming a lot of my mental space. Just trying to see who was available, and was I going to get to play with anybody today. And then if anybody wasn't available to play, I get kind of dejected or sad or whatever, and I'd be
Hmm.
like, I didn't accomplish what I was trying to accomplish. So got myself into a good headspace about it. Cafe asked me back.
Yeah, well, and that was interesting to me because it illuminated something that I kind of already knew if I thought about it, but like you are really energized by interactions with people.
Yeah.
And because I think when you said that, I'm like, well, just play solo. And you're like, yeah, no, that's super uninteresting to me to play solo Fortnite. I'm like, oh. So that, because I love playing solo Fortnite, I was like, oh, okay, I could see if I just wanted to be with people. Number one, I'd be a completely different kind of human being than I am. Number two, I'd be more like Jim, which would be good.
No, I'm trying to be more like Cafe. So we can just swap if you want.
We can meet in the middle someplace. Yeah,
We meet in the middle. The best version of a human is somewhere in between the two of us,
that's
the
right.
middle ground. So what I found most recently that was huge for me was I did a coaching session with Cafe. We looked at what I was doing in certain situations within Fortnite, and uh, I was getting killed anytime that there were builds involved or people were right up on me, and I didn't have a clear idea. I didn't have a clear instinct on what to do. I was turning around and running away,
Hmm.
and I think that was like human instinct to run away. But Cafe made it really clear by showing me this is what it looks like when you run away. And so he got in front of me on the Fortnite view and ran away just in a straight line. And it was like, see how easy that is to kill me. Like
Hmm.
you're if you do that in a response to somebody being in your face, you're most certainly going to get killed. So
Hmm.
why not just turn around and face them? And I was
Hmm.
like, so first off, as a metaphor for life, that's huge, right?
Hmm.
Because that is, um, if you fear something is going to happen and you are completely blocking it out,
Right.
and you're just trying to get away from it, you don't disappear when you turn around, right? Like you're it's really
Hmm.
obvious in most situations, I think. I my instinct was to turn around and run away, and so I don't think before you gave me that coaching session that I would have been ready for it, but
Hmm.
I had practiced enough at just being able to fight and be
Hmm.
able to aim and be able to have good movement generally, that I was able to accept that coaching and had kind of a breakthrough
Hmm.
of basic building in a situation where I would have gotten killed before,
Hmm.
and turning around and facing the thing just head on.
Right.
Um, and so for me as a person, turning around, running away, ignoring it, giving up on it, and that kind of stuff
Hmm.
was the thing that I did as a kid. If I wasn't really good at it, I didn't pursue it. There were so many
Hmm.
things that I felt like intuitively I was good at, that why do the things that are I do the things that are hard. Well, there are situations where what you want can only be achieved by moving through the thing that is hard.
Right.
And and so in my life, the number of things that I have given up on or not pursued because it was on the other side of something that I didn't feel equipped to be able to take care of, or I
Hmm.
didn't feel good enough to be able to do. So it sounds dramatic, but in the game of Fortnite, when we were doing that coaching session and we
Hmm.
went into a game right after that, and I we uh, uh, Cafe said we're going to go in. We're going to find this situation. We're going to find a situation where you can fight somebody, and all I did was build a simple ramp, face
Mm-hmm.
them, and not try to escape, but
Mm-hmm.
just accept that yeah, I'm probably going to fail at this
Mm-hmm.
time, but I'm not going to fail by turning around and running away. I'm going to
Right.
fail by attempting to. I'm going to try and build. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
try and jump. I'm going to try and dodge. I'm going to try and get damage on them before I die. So it seemed like
Right.
you had something to add there.
Well, a couple of things. One that reminds me of the Strengths Finders concept of you want to move the things when you were talking about. There's lots of things you're good at, and so why engage with the things you're not good at? There's some things in life that you have to engage with, whether you're like you have to interact with them in some way. Like if you're think of Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice, that he found it difficult to interact with people, and Elizabeth Bennet was like, I'm not good at the piano, but that's because I haven't practiced, so I kind of I'm kind of responsible for that. But there's some things that you have to engage. So like in Fortnite, like somebody shooting at you, you can't just pretend like they're not shooting at you. They're going to send you back to the lobby. So there's going to be some consequence for that transaction, one way or the other. And in the Strengths Finders concept of try and move your strengths into central areas of your life, into your work, the things that you love, the things that you are good at, the things that you intuitively can progress in, move those into the center of your life as much as possible, into your work and into your relationships. And then patch the potholes for the things that you either are bad at or that you don't want to get good at, you're not interested in. Just patch those potholes. And that's like in that situation in Fortnite, in order to get to turn the corner in terms of just being good at Fortnite, running away is never in that particular situation. There's times to go and reset if you can, but just simply running away with your back to the person, slowly getting a little bit smaller as they're
It's a little bit
ADSing on
smaller.
you and drilling you with your AR in your back of your head, is not the path to turn the corner to get better at Fortnite in that particular situation. You know, Building is going to be one of the tools. Evasion is going to be a tool. Trying to confuse your opponent as far as where you are, and so trying to find those situations. Somebody just made a fresh pot of coffee. Uchi did. Thank you, Uchi. Thanks for the tier 1 sub. So on the other side of you just building a wall, the actual goal is in that situation, what should in that situation when you're fighting and somebody's starting to approach, approach killing you, at some point there has to be some skill set put there. And just running away, getting smaller is never, that's not the skill set you're trying to orient yourself to. So at least you have to patch that pothole.
Right.
And there's a lot of different things you can do. You can get really good with shockwaves, so you can reposition yourself pretty quickly, or you can get better at building rapidly. But the first step is at least in that moment shifting what you do from just running away to doing something else. So at least for me, when I'm in that, I specifically remember when I was kind of at that place a few years ago in Fortnite, and what I would do I would literally go in, and that's what we did when we were playing. Like, we're gonna go in, you're gonna die, but the goal, like the victory royale, is simply placing a build in that moment,
Yeah.
and just to rewire that situation for you. And so, yeah, that I remember I would literally go in just to die. I would just go in, instead of running away, I would just turn and look at them as they were, that was my first step, was just look at them as they're killing me. Like, okay, I've got to relax and not just like sprint away in panic. And then I would turn towards them and build a wall. And then I started, but just right at that moment where you need to execute something, I was trying to create a little bit of space for myself.
Yeah.
So
And I think
yeah.
the other end of that, catching us up to you as a player now, there are times when we're playing together and you'll say, "I got a hard dip," right? I'm making a choice right now. My health is not where it needs to be. These guys are really good. I don't have enough ammo. Like whatever the decision is that you're making is I need to dip and put myself in a better position. But you don't just turn around and run away. You have a skill set for
Right.
getting away, right?
Yeah.
And so to start with, success is redefined as turning around and facing your enemy rather than getting shot in the back, and that's hard to do. And it was a tough lesson, but immediately I recognized that, oh, okay, this is definitely going to be a skill set change because I now did something that I wasn't doing at all before.
Right.
And so it locked into all of the other skill set things that I've done in my life where, okay, I managed to turn around and face the enemy. Now I'm a hero. Obviously, now I'm amazing because
You
I
are,
turned
yes.
around.
I heard
Yeah.
Ninja talking about you
He,
immediately after that.
that guy won't leave me alone.
He's like
He's
he
been
just turns
asking
around.
for,
He turns around and
yeah,
builds ramps like nobody's business.
nobody's business. Uh, so I think when you talked about the Strengths Finders thing, the the skill set that I don't have and the strength that I don't have in real life right now is I am not good at making a big deal about what I'm good at. I'm not good at making a big deal about the work that I do. Almost all of the work that I do has come to me through word of mouth and people being really excited about what I do. And this next year, I'm going to be looking at leveling up and trying to, build my business in an additional revenue stream. But in order to do that, I've got to make a big deal about what I do. And the last couple attempts that I've made at it, I kind of just like a deer in headlights, don't really know how to talk about myself. So that it's something that is in that Strengths Finders area of I'm not good at it. I don't have the funds to hire somebody to make a big deal out of what I'm doing. So for this short period of time, I have to build a skill set that's very uncomfortable. And I've got to. It's a matter of even with social media, because I find social media to be a kryptonite in all of the things that I think are interesting about me, interesting about my work, or funny, which are the main things that I typically provide to a situation: insight, listening, a little bit of humor, those types of things. When it comes to social media, I feel like I'm starting from a blank page and I don't really know what it is that I want to share, and which seems ridiculous because I have a million things to share. But when it comes time to add something to social media, I find myself just locked up, right? And so this idea of I'm pretty sure that if I work at it in the same way that I'm working at turning around, facing my enemy, building a ramp, giving myself just that second of chance to survive and to be able to do what I need to do in the situation. Perhaps this is something that could be a strength of mine, but the only way to find out, the only way to do it is through a really hard, through a really difficult path. Or
Right.
it's through the uncomfortable. It's through the difficult.
Right. What's the pain is the path, or I think there's a book that says that basically.
If there's not, we're writing it right now. The pain is the path.
Okay, if you want to take notes from now on, we'll just start transcribing the book.
Okay, so the new
Well,
book is called.
that actually that does remind me of Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art, where he's talking about the resistance. When you feel like you're pushing wherever you're feeling the resistance is the pathway, and right there, if you were already good at it, you wouldn't feel any resistance. So, kind of figuring out what that.
Yeah.
How do you so I mean you do know me about as well as anybody. So in a situation like that, where I realize I've got to move in a direction in real life, not in Fortnite. I'm looking for something that's intuitive, something that's a small enough next step that I don't feel a lot of friction in that direction, and just starting to press into something that's not too hard for me is kind of a next step for me, and just start to pursue that until I get decent at it, and then from that position look around for another next step. So you said I'm about to have to get good at a hard skill set. For me, if I knew that I'm about to have to get good at a hard skill set, I would probably turn and run away. That's interesting to I would be like, nah. But there's a it's not going from turning and running away to being an amazing builder who can box fight with the best. For me, it's always like, I think I can just turn and build a wall at least. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Until that becomes intuitive, and then I find a little extra space to build a wall and a ramp, and maybe look at my inventory right quick or take a heal. Like how do you pursue when you realize there's something that I've got to move into that's going to be hard or non-intuitive? What's your path forward in that? And
So the difficult thing for me is not finding something to be intuitive. So in my time, both as an actor, running my own company as an improviser in a training school, and then running my own coaching business, most of the things that I've wanted to do have felt intuitive. Oh, I need to build my own website. Well, clearly, I just need to figure out, I need to figure out this, and this, and this won't be a problem. And I don't really feel locked up. I don't feel like there's a certain amount of tension or anything like that. So I think I have been following the Strengths Finder thing intuitively my whole life. I've been focusing on the things that I'm good at, and there aren't that many times when I have to do the process that we're talking about. So it's not to say that I'm great at everything. It's that I'm good enough. It's like I'm a jack of all trades. I'm
Right.
a generalist. I can get good enough to do whatever I need to do, usually pretty quickly in whatever it is. And if I'm not good at it, I usually figure out some other way to get it done. And so now there isn't really any other way for me to do what it is that I'm trying to do this upcoming year, because the truth of it is that I've now worked my way toward my passion, toward a specific result, and I now have hit something where turning around and running away would mean abandoning
all that work.
all of the work, everything that I've done, and it would mean that I wasn't leveling up for income wise for the next year, to be able to not just survive but thrive. Like the next really thriving in my business is going to require this thing to be done, and there isn't anybody who's going to do it for me. I've looked around. There's not somebody just waiting outside my door that's willing to do all of the steps that I need to do. I don't. I'm a little uncomfortable when people will like anytime that I give a talk somewhere. The people, when they have the cards and they read off your bio to a group of people before you step on stage and start talking or doing a workshop or whatever, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with somebody else saying, this guy is accomplished, he knows these things, he's here for a purpose, and he's going to really get you to think differently about something today. And I'm fine with that. I'm not super comfortable with it, but it still makes me a little bit like when they do it, but I can get through it. When I try and do it myself, I find myself much better at self-deprecating and trying to be funny than I am at doing that. So I don't think I have a good answer to your question of what do I normally do, because I don't normally do it. I think I also normally would just run away, and this is one of those situations where I can't.
So may not apply to this situation. I am an anti-salesman, which I learned from my dad. We both have non-salesman personalities, and my biggest pet peeve is spin. If I feel like somebody's spinning something, I just can't abide it. And but I learned from my dad, and it's actually how I sell myself. I explained why you wouldn't want to use me as a painter, as a project manager, or whatever when I was project managing. But as a painter, I would explain, here's, hey, I can give you I can send you a YouTube video if somebody's like on the fence, or if somebody decides, that's too expensive. I can send them a video like, here's, you don't have to use any of this, but here's, the tools and techniques that I use. So, what I tell people, so I just signed the biggest contract. I'm in the middle of doing the biggest contract I've signed. It's going to be around $20,000 for a painting job. And, but specifically the intro that this guy got for me from his financial manager, who I've painted a lot for, was he is slow, but the quality is really there. And I'm like, that's exactly, because I am slow. I'm just not in a hurry. I'm enjoying myself. I'm not trying to rush through the job. That sounds like a miserable lifestyle to me, to like
Yeah.
constantly be hustling and trying to get the maximum work done. I'm like, I'm going to get a solid day's work done and then go home to be with my family. I'm not in any rush. And so I'll tell customers, like, if you're on a schedule, I'm not the guy for you. If you really need to get in and out, I'm not the guy for you. If this is going to be very disruptive and you want to minimize the time, then I'm not the guy for you. If it's an exterior job, and it's a big job, you definitely want somebody with a big crew. And it's just, I don't have a big crew. It's just me. So I mask out, like, here's all the reasons you definitely wouldn't want to use me. If what's left is you just really want somebody who just loves to do quality painting and isn't in a big rush, and that's a good fit for you, I'm the guy for you. Like, and if the price is right, then let's sign and let's get going. But that was kind of always my dad's, like, here's why you wouldn't want to use me, which leaves the reasons that you would want to use me. And if that happens to overlay with what you're wanting, great. And I think,
Yeah.
I listen to Gary Vee quite a lot, and Gary Vaynerchuk, and he talks about letting the market find you. But in order to do that, you've got, I mean, he talks about creating like 10 to 15 pieces of content a day, which I don't do, but I definitely have done more content because he's like, there's no reason for you not to do it. So yeah, you saying that. So the idea that I brought today, something I mentioned to you, and we've definitely talked around it for the last year. But recently, but I think it actually applies to what you're talking about. So I love the concept of, there's a concept like in the literature on innovation, how to innovate, how to discover a new path forward that's unique in a situation, is to cross pollinate. I'm a house painter. How would a surgeon, what's a surgeon doing, and what's something I can learn from surgery that I might
Oh yeah.
apply to this, or from food service, or from an author. And so I love taking, like, somebody's gotten really good here. Is there something about the shape of what they're doing that I can actually not duplicate, but take the shape and see what the shape would look like in my company? And I've done a lot of development from that. And so I love finding something that's already working and just being able to basically not have to go the whole path there, but take where it's already working and just lateral over to some other situation in my life. So I know I talked to you about my aim recently, and you've heard the euphoria in my voice when I'm
Oh
actually
yeah.
hitting my shots, but not because I've worked for not because last month I worked for 100 hours doing aim training, but because I suddenly tapped into a part of something else that I was doing already and have done for hundreds of hours. and just realized, oh, this is the same shape. And so I was actually playing with you a
Oh
week
yeah.
or so ago.
Oh, here's my impersonation of Cafe realizing, woo, woo, no, no way. What, woo, woo.
That is that
That was
is what it sounded
it
like.
was it was euphoria, and then it was like a pause to just make sure that he was having euphoria about like is this real, and then it kept going back
Yeah.
and forth. He's like, Jim, you gotta come over here,
Yeah,
Jim,
I just
look at
learned
this.
something. I just
I
learned
just
something.
learned something. Yeah,
So
go
Jim
ahead.
and I were on Spawn Island, waiting to load into a game, and I had a scoped AR, and so I was just, finding somebody to shoot, and so I shot at somebody, but my here's what my gaming mouse usually looks like while I'm aiming and I'm trying to track. If I'm tracking somebody, I'm usually like very intent and I'm slowly trying to stay on top of them. But for whatever reason, that one time I shot him and hit him, and my mouse just kept on moving, and I came back across him and shot him on the beat of this. The scoped AR just had this kind of slow staccato shot. And in that moment, the visceral sensation was like I was pickaxing a tree, because that's how I pickaxe a tree. When I finally figured out how to hit those circles every time, it wasn't to keep my mouse and then move it and move it and move it. It's just to keep it. This is what my mouse looks like as I'm pickaxing a tree. It never stops, and just the fact that I'm still in motion saves me that little bit of time of initiating the motion. Just that split second is what gives me the space to move over and hit that, 90% of the time or whatever. But I never used that part of my brain for aiming. That was never something that was me pickaxing. Then, okay, now I've got to aim. I've got to stay and track the person, or I've got to flick shot the person, if I'm doing a shotgun. So I went into a game and didn't hit every single shot, but hit like 30 to 50% more shots, because I'd already done this enormous volume of work learning how to pickaxe and collect materials. And it just completely transferred over. And all it is I just keep my mouse moving, and I try to cross, the person as I'm, as the shots. So I've trended more towards rhythmic guns, as opposed to like the classic AR that's just,
Yeah.
just very quick. I'm looking for like that burst that has a rhythm, and that way I can just make sure I'm crossing my opponent's head, hopefully, as it's bursting, and so I'm just keep on moving. The fact that I could lateral all that work over is euphoric to me. There's been a few times in my life where I've suddenly realized, oh, I've already done all the work, and now I just have to walk through the door. I don't have to like
Yeah.
travel, go on a long journey to get better at this. And it reminded me, so I'm a whitewater kayaker and was an instructor, and years back, and I've spent a lot of time on the river. And there's a couple of key principles in whitewater kayaking that transfer strangely over to snowboarding. Exactly, it was an exact duplicate. I always skied growing up in New York, cross country skied, downhill skied. But several years back, my brother-in-laws and I went up to Snowshoe, West Virginia, and went skiing. And I decided I've always wanted to do snowboarding. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try. So I wasn't great, I was falling down and I was trying to figure out how it worked. And then there was this moment where the sensation of kayaking, like I felt the sensation. I was like, oh, what was that? I'm like, oh, that felt like kayaking. And there's a couple of things. There's in kayaking, you disconnect at the waist. You don't lock in. You don't lock at the waist. Your upper body is very fluid and your lower body is very fluid, and they're kind of doing different things. And all the power comes from the upper body, and the lower body follows the impulse momentum that the upper body generates. So that concept of splitting at the waist, and when you're play boating, so you're aimed upriver, you're in a hole or a wave, and you're like spinning around doing pirouettes and flips and stuff. The goal of making sure that as the water's flowing towards you, your boat edge doesn't catch and flip you over is exactly like not letting the snow catch. And so suddenly I was able to do like a year's worth of snowboarding practice by simply transferring the concept of disconnect at the waist, upper body is what carries the momentum, which is true in snowboarding, and keep your leading edge up, which I practiced for thousands of hours in a boat. So that kind of thing where it's like, okay, I've already, all I had to do is make the connection to tap into a lot of work, and then I could go through the door that was right in front of me is what I've been now I've been practicing that in Fortnite and now I'm starting to think, okay, what else have I put a lot of effort into in real life that I can tap into and just lateral across. There's a concept, a chemistry concept. Wolfie's here, so he can fact check me on this. Called it's the phase change. So the idea in phase change materials is it takes 1 unit of energy to raise the temperature 1 degree, whatever the unit is, whatever the amount of energy, a calorie for water or whatever. But whatever that unit of energy that you have to put in to raise a mass 1 degree, the whole mass 1 degree, once you keep on putting it in, and as it goes up, you just have to put 1 unit in, 1 unit in, 1 unit in, and the degrees raise 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree corresponding until you hit phase change. And then it takes 80 units of energy to get that same mass to go 1 degree up because phase change absorbs so much energy. And so another way that I've thought about this concept of just lateraling across is where have I already where have I already done the work that I've triggered phase change, where I've gotten good at something. I've gone through all this work. So when you said earlier, I've got this thing that's hard and I'm going to have to do a lot of hard work. My intuitive sense, you may just have to like go to college and learn how to become a marketer or whatever, sometimes there isn't a way to do this. But I found in a lot of situations, there's some area of my life I've already put a lot of work in. And what can I either take from that to transfer to a new situation or move the situation I'm in over to that? So, for example, I have decades of experience as a project manager. I don't project manage anymore, but I've already gone through a couple of phase changes with project management. I've gone from a solid to a liquid and then a liquid to a gas. I became a pretty good project manager. So I have all of that project management experience that I don't want to use. I wanted to move that. That's kind of in the strengths finders, my strengths, a lot of things, I'm not bad at them. I just don't like them and I'm not interested in being good at them. And I got good at them after decades of pain, essentially. Now I've moved that out of the center of my life, but it's still there, all that knowledge. And so recently, what I was able to do was not project manage, but somebody asked me and they were begging me to project manage a kitchen remodel for them. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'll paint for you, but you're asking me to live a life of just settling into hell. For me, I don't like
Right.
project management, at least in construction. I'm over that. And I said, but I've created a lot of systems that they don't make it easy, but they make it manageable. And so I quoted them this exorbitant price and said, hey, I'll create a package, a project management package that's customized to your job, and then I basically was making like $250 an hour because I'd already done all the work. The
Right.
package, I was just basically culling the key things from the things I've already done for decades, put it together, shipped it to them, and they sent me a check because I'd already done the work. But I'd moved that out of centrality in my life, but I still could tap into it because I love. And so I made a YouTube video explaining each of the component parts and how to use it, and it was just like basically taking one step to produce something because I'd already leveled up in that so far. And so I was thinking like, what is Jim already good at that could contribute towards marketing. I mean, you might disagree with me, but I think, and maybe it wouldn't work. This is just a guess. It's a prediction. So I think as myself as a streamer, streaming, about 10 hours to 15 hours a week, the content's all there. It's just cultivating it. And if I wanted to make a clip for YouTube, or if I wanted to make a lot of clips, I've already done the work to create the content. Then it's just, okay, going in and finding them on my Stream Deck. I've got a thing to create a stream marker, so I can insert like a little bookmark. I'm like, oh, that might be something I want to make a YouTube video out of. I can just reach over and click it and collapse the work that's needed to actually produce something that I get out there. But yeah, that's Jim. You know me. Effortless infrastructure maintenance to create a beautiful, useful environment is like the core, like at the hardcore, at the center of my heart. Basically, the thing I love the most in the world is doing that. Gracie's the thing I love most in the world. I think I should say that since this is being.
Yeah. Just real quick, go back on what you said because of who's listening. I think I am to Kabui is the thing that it's the thing that you always come back to, right? Like everything resolves back in your life to I am to Kabui.
I'm to Kabui is effortless infrastructure maintenance to create a beautiful, useful environment, which is just a paragraph that I coined, or Gracie coined actually, to describe what I'm always thinking about. But it's Gracie said, I think we should call it I'm to Kabui, which is the acronym for all of those letters.
It sounds cool, and then it takes about half an hour to unpack what all the letters mean and how it works together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think no, I get where you're going with the thing. I think the trick is going to be getting to a place where I don't feel like I've got to trick myself in some way into not thinking that I'm making a big deal out of myself, but instead I'm making a big deal out of something that I believe in, something that I have to offer. And I think that's the tricky part. But I have practiced streaming. I have practiced on TikTok and making videos. So I think you're right. If I can find a way to make it effortless and to get into flow state, and probably the answer is probably streaming. It's probably recording the content and then finding the things and sharing those. Because a good moment, just like Gary Vee is sitting up on stage and talking about something that he finds to be true, and then his at first it was him, and then later on he now has a team of people that go about taking whatever it is that he talked about and breaking it up into little chunks and making a whole bunch of pieces of content about it.
I wonder if you reframed when you said making a big deal of yourself. Here's an assumption I have about myself. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not even most people's cup of tea or coffee. In other words, I don't have the personality for everybody, and it doesn't bother me if people don't like me, because I assume everybody has people that don't, there's people I don't like. Nothing wrong with them. It's just, personality-wise or whatever. Not a good fit. Don't talk about the things I'm interested in or whatever. And so it just doesn't bother me to not be liked. A piece of that framing of it is, but there are some people out there. If I'm just myself, maybe just a few, but there's some people out there that will enjoy, we can enjoy spending time together. And then the trick is, okay, how are we going to make that connection? The thing I love about things like Twitch and social media is, and it's something Gary Vee talks about, is, maybe 90% of the people will hate your content, hate it, not like you, not be interested in what you have to say, think it's erroneous nonsense. They're not your target market. It doesn't matter. Because what you have to offer is going to be valuable to the 2% or whatever. And that really is who you're who you're going to be beneficial and fruitful with. And, if, I think about you, Jim, maybe there's people out there that aren't looking for narrative coaching. But then I saw, oh, there's this guy named Jim on the Slack group that we're on, and oh, narrative coaching, that sounds interesting. Also, full circle moment back to what we were talking about. The reason I hired you was because I had hired a Fortnite coach for 1 half-hour coaching session. The thing that he taught me was the thing I taught you. That he was
Oh,
like, no, you need to reset, build a wall, take
uh,
some heals. I mean, he probably said that 30 times during, I think we
yeah.
played 2 games together and he was spectating me the whole time. He's like, stop. What are you doing? Why are you running away? Now stop, build a box, heal up. That was the thing he taught me. And then that immediately improved my KD, because instead of just running away and getting killed, I would box up and hopefully be able to get med kit off or something. And then that occasionally would let me win that fight. And then I remember thinking, man, that was really helpful. Again, back to what this podcast is about. There's a lot of things you can learn in Fortnite that just transfer over, and you can kind of practice in Fortnite, learn some principles, and then see them a little more clearly in real life. I was like, man, that really worked to help my Fortnite. I bet if I hired a coach, that would actually help somehow. And then
Right.
like a month later, I was reading your website. I was like, oh, narrative coaching. I love narratives. I like stories. That's interesting. I'll sign up. Let's see what happens. And here we are.
Full circle, full
Cheers to
circle.
Jim.
Yeah. Cheers to cafe.
Well,
I met you as David, but I call you Cafe now
I
because
know.
your Twitch identity has fully overtaken
It's
even in my
overtaken my
mind.
actual personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good. I feel
Yeah,
like that was a good recording. Yeah.
I think so too. I think so too. I just want to remind you, Jim, always thank the bus driver.
Always thank the bus driver.
You want to play some Fortnite?
Sure. I'm gonna
Uh,
close this down. I'll meet you in the.
yeah, so guys, on stream, I'm going to switch over to Fortnite. What I don't know, because I haven't tried this, right now, this website is co oping my camera. So that's the only thing that's using my camera. So it's not currently